there are a myriad of tight ends right now that the Bengals have, right? Whether it be Tanner McLaughlin, Mike Gesicki, Eric All, who's just been cleared for contact and all that good stuff. Hakeem Butler, I think, right? Yeah, I think sort of, right? That's the kind of role he's playing. It's kind of weird on that front. Who do y'all think is going to rise to the rise to the top? I know there are people that are out there that are like, yo, we still believe in Tanner Hudson. Like, Tanner Hudson, believe it or not, has a hive out there. But what do y'all who do y'all expect to really take the next step in the tight end room? Obviously, Mike Gesicki is going to be slated as tight end 1. We know that already, even though he's a quote unquote glorified wide receiver. Mike Gesicki is tight end 1. But who do y'all think is really going to grow into that role? Because Mike Gesicki is only under contract for the Cincinnati Bengals this year. After this year, it's wide open, right? You don't know whose quote unquote spot is going to be. There are a lot of people that are praising Eric All. A lot of people are excited about Eric All and his potential in this Bengals offense. But Logan, I'm going to start off with you. What are your thoughts?
It depends how you want to look at the question. I think for this upcoming year, I think the tight end that's going to play the most snaps, to be honest, is probably going to be Drew Sample. I think at the end of the day, they're probably going to run a little bit more two tights, but he's still your blocking tight end. He's still very valuable in the run game and even the pass blocking game. Mike's going to be very effective when he's on the field. He's going to be point blank and simple. He's going to be good and very productive when he is on the field. But Drew Sample, he does a lot of things that your stereotypical tight ends do. He's going to block. He's going to do all the dirty work, and that's going to keep him on the field. That's what's kept him on the field for years. So, I think he's just going to end up playing the most snaps. But if you're looking more towards the future, you got to just turn your head to the rookies. Obviously, we don't know what Mike's future looks like on the one-year deal. He's a very exciting player. I think he fits pretty phenomenally within this offense. But they drafted 2 tight ends for a reason. And they drafted 2 tight ends that are pretty exciting, too. It's not like they drafted, a Drew Sample where his best perks are his run blocking. They drafted a do-it-all tight end in Eric All, and they drafted an elite receiving tight end in Tanner McLaughlin. So that's kind of my take on it, on the tight end room, both now and in the future. Expect a lot of Drew Sample this year to probably lead in snap percentage, if I had to guess, and then lean on the rookies, in the years forward.
Yeah. Last 2 seasons, Bengals have carried 4 tight ends. Obviously, we're talking about 5 right here. Back in 2021, the Bengals did carry 5. CJ Uzomah, Mason Schreck, Drew Sample, Clark Harris, and Mitchell Wilcox. Notable thing there is some of those guys have that kind of H-back versatility. Yeah. Like you said, Drew Sample is probably more of that. And I think Eric All is your other kind of blocking type tight end, right? Not to say that he's not a talented receiver or not more of the all-around tight end, but I think he's your other kind of like, hey, if Drew Sample's not out there, is Eric All arguably your best blocking tight end that you have? I think there's an argument for that, right? Yeah. So that's why I think Eric All, Mike Gesicki, and Drew Sample are all safe for that reason. So then when we talk about do they carry 4, do they carry 5, and who we're expecting to maybe get jettisoned off to the practice squad or maybe end up on another roster, you're looking at Tanner McLaughlin and Tanner Hudson. And between that, I'm partial to usually going with the younger guy, right? Yeah. Because I feel like Hudson has a very particular set of skills that he is what he is right now. And you are going to have if he feels young because he was off the practice squad, right? But he's going to be 30 this year, right? So I completely understand the comfortability, right? Of being like, hey, he's familiar with the offense, but this isn't a guy who has to be your tight end too, like he did last year, right? Or your primary receiving tight end. You have Eric All, Mike Gesicki, and then maybe Tanner McLaughlin for that. Yeah. So I think they could carry 5. It's tough when you have a wide receiver room as deep as it is, and you have so many defensive backs, particularly safeties, and you want to keep the D-line rotation deep. Like, you are going to have to make some cuts somewhere else. Unfortunately, I think that might end up being like backup offensive line where maybe they have their 5 starters and then they carry Mims, Ford, maybe backup center, and kind of have that be their main guys. Yeah. And then try and sandwich some other guys in the practice squad. But if they do carry 5, obviously this is kind of a moot point. I think if you go with 4, if I have to choose between Hudson and the younger guy, I'm going to choose the younger guy, McLaughlin, who offers a lot of the same upside that Tanner Hudson does, but also hopefully can develop into more as he gets more comfortable with kind of playing that pseudo tight end Mike Gesicki role, which maybe playing behind Mike Gesicki will really benefit him.
I got to be honest with you guys. I'm really, really high on Tanner McLaughlin in his future. I think that you look at what the Bengals like to do. Don't get me wrong. I like Eric All. I'm not as like overly thrilled as a lot of people are about him. And I think in large part of that is not that he's not good. It's that I'm from the show me state. I need to see it consistently. And when I say consistent, I need you to be available, right? I need you to be out there. He's dealt with some injuries. Some
scary ones.
Man. And I think obviously when you look at a guy like Tanner McLaughlin, you can point to his age. But one thing we need to point to is the fact of how productive he was at the college level. You talk about Tanner McLaughlin's catch radius, and you think about it, man. If that guy, he also tore his ACL in college, right? Yeah. If that guy probably didn't tear his ACL in college and maybe was a little bit younger, he probably would have went a lot higher than what he did.
And he started as a receiver,
right? So. And so when you look at the Bengals, definitely have a type.
Yeah.
You know, when people date, they say, "Oh, I don't have a type," or "I have a type," right? The Bengals definitely have a type at the tight end spot. And maybe it's a situation in which the Bengals will always run a tight end by committee type thing. Maybe they go about it and they say, you know what, in the event that Mike Gesicki has a big year, he moves on. At least we have our tight end of the future, right? Yeah. I'd like to think that if Mike Gesicki has a big year, he'll make it very, very difficult for the Cincinnati Bengals to say, hey, we're willing to part with that, guys. But let's face it, the same question I asked Duke Tobin at the NFL Combine this past year. I said, hey, the tight end position has been such a revolving door for the Bengals. When do we solidify it? When do you say to yourself that we need to really say this is our guy and this is the guy that we're going to roll with?
So the question's on the tight end revolving door. Is that what you said? Yeah, there has been a revolving door. That's not what we're looking for. It's what's been presented to us in our estimation as the best way forward. We'll continue to evaluate that, but we want guys like every other team wants guys. We want guys that can block. We want guys that can catch. If they can do both, that's a bonus. We want a good mix of different abilities in the group.
You can't let another good tight end walk out the door. It can't just be a revolving door at the tight end unless one of these guys absolutely blows you away. Does Drew Sample do that? I don't think he does that.
No, he is what he is.
Does Tanner McLaughlin do that? Maybe. Does Eric All do that? Maybe. Does Hakeem Butler, who's working in and out of the spot, does he do that? Maybe. That's the hope. Listen, our theme is competition breeds success, right? The cream will always rise to the top. The best of the best will always rise to the top. And I think that Mike Gesicki is going to really set the standard for the Bengals tight end position group. You know, I think that it's been a couple of years since the Bengals had a tight end that has the catch radius and is that physical out there. Probably since Tyler Eifert, if I'm being honest. And I'm willing to say this because I've been watching Mike Gesicki since he was in high school, being from Jersey. I think Mike Gesicki is going to be a home run signing for the Bengals. I think Mike Gesicki is going to steal red zone touchdowns from guys like T. Higgins, guys like Jamar Chase, because I think he's that much of a mismatch. While you're paying attention to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Jermaine Burton, and we'll get to some of these other guys that have been standing out that a lot of people have been talking about, Mike Gesicki is going to take your lunch money. This guy's been a red zone beast no matter where he's been. Even in limited opportunities with the New England Patriots, we saw what Mike Gesicki can do. And what I've been banging the table was for the last 2 years about Mike Gesicki, and people are like, "Oh, Malik, well, he's washed up, or he's this, they there." In a short span, I get it. It's just t-shirt in shorts, if you will. Mike Gesicki has already turned a lot of heads at training camp. I think even in the Bengals' eyes, they didn't realize fully what they were getting in Mike Gesicki. I meant it when I said, I didn't mean it as a hot take. Whenever I jump up on this show, whenever I speak out and I say something, listen, all I got in this life is my word and my balls. Like that's all I got. And when I jump up on this show and I say, yo, this person is going to be this, it's either one, I know something. Two, I've watched the person. Like I've watched them. I've watched Mike Gesicki. I would never hammer the table for Mike Gesicki this hard or for a tight end this hard if I didn't think that they were being held back by their system or their quarterback. Mike Gesicki has proven in a very, very short span that, yo, if he's able to stay healthy, notice what I'm saying. If he is able to stay healthy, that guy is going to be a problem.